Welcome to Tabletop Titans Live. Today we have a very special kind of show. This is a book review of Psychic Awakening, The Greater Good. And we're experimenting with a new format to kind of review these books. We're really excited to show you what we're putting together today. And of course, we're really excited for this book, right?
Wait.
This is going to be a really great one. And this is the 5th book in the series. They've been putting these out really quickly,
crazy
right?
Fast paced.
It's a lot to keep up with. And this book is chocked full of stuff, right? 3 factions, the Guard, the Genestealer cults, and of course, the Tau Empire. And today we're going to be going over just the Tau Empire. There's so much to cover just with Tau. It is so deep. And there's a lot to cover with Guard as well and Genestealer cults,
Yeah,
right?
and we'll definitely come back to those. Of course, we'll be doing battle reports on the other 2 armies in the next few weeks. But what we really wanted to do, and what a lot of you guys were asking for, was a really deep dive into the Tau and kind of talking about different combos in a way that we couldn't really do if we did a video about the entire book, because there's so much in it.
There's a ton there.
Yeah.
And if you love, the book has great fluff, really good, some new artwork and stuff. It's a great book. I really suggest you pick it up if you play any of these factions. And there's going to be just so many more books coming out soon. So we're gonna try to help you keep up with it and take a look at some of these tactics. We play all these armies that are in this book, so this is really excited. My Guard are really excited to get some play. Your Genestealer cults.
I'm so excited.
So we're gonna go through the book today. We're gonna take you through pretty much all the important stuff. We're gonna take you through some key lists that we've designed, some cool tactics, really how to get the most out of it. And we'll talk about some of the things that are unclear. This book needs probably a FAQ soon, and it'll get one. So we'll talk about where some uncertainty is. And then, of course, at the end, we'll pick one of the lists, and we're going to play it next Thursday on our Thursday night game against an orc list, right?
Yeah, shooty orcs.
So that's going to be great. So let's jump in and take a look at the book. And the first thing in the book is the new Shadow Sun datasheet.
Right.
So they released, this is the only model that they released for this book. And it's kind of weird. The book has more to do about Farsight.
I know, it's so random,
and
right?
he's an old Finecast model too.
It is a good model, though.
It's an okay model.
It stands up.
So I have a Farsight model here. We'll show it to you a little later, but it's a kit bash using an Enforcer kit plus the actual
That's right.
kit. And it's a little better because his kit is a little small. So I think it would have made sense to get a new model for him. But anyways, they did Shadow Sun. And the new model is great.
It's so cool.
A little suspicious that she has 4 arms in a book about the Genestealer cults.
And wasn't she like missing for a while?
Yeah,
had something to do with Genestealers.
I hope she's fine. I see a lot of people at home cutting the extra arms off, and they're all people are like just 2 arm, just 2 arm Shadow Sun.
I might have to get one for my GSC though, honestly, as a patriarch.
So she's changed in very subtle ways.
Subtle, but really interesting in odd ways.
Yeah, it is a little odd.
Yeah.
So, of course, her weapons did change here. I'll take you in a little closer here. Instead of the normal fusion blasters, she has these high-energy fusion blasters, slightly longer range, from 18 to 24. But other than that, it's basically the same. And then she has this other kind of fusion she could take, which is the dispersed fusion here.
Right.
And you can see it's strength 7, D3 damage. I don't know. It's not...
Generally want the Melta.
Yeah, I think the Melta's the way to go.
Yeah.
She gets this new flechette launcher, which is a pistol, and then
when
she
get locked in combat.
That's right, yeah. And she has this new light missile pod, which is basically a normal missile pod, just 2 shots. Okay, it's fine. She's never really been in your army for shooting.
Right, and I think one of the things, I'm actually curious what your thoughts are on it. I think a lot of people are going to look at the 24-inch fusion gun and then say, well, now I can deep strike and have them in Melta range. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's actually going to be a factor?
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, she never had deep strike. She infiltrates. So she's a stealth suit.
Cool.
So she infiltrates.
That's my non-tap showing.
And the truth is, you don't want her up the board. She's a support character.
Well, that's my thing, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's never good for her. Now, one of the more weird things is they gave her this new rule, Supreme Commander. This allows her to join any detachment from any other sept, and it won't break the sept tenant.
Right.
So the concept is, oh, cool, you're running a Farsight Enclave army. You can put her in that. But what would she do in that? It's not clear because 2 of her main abilities, the main ability that she's famous for, is the Genius of Kauyan. This allows her to use Master of War twice. But Master of War is tied to whatever sept is on your datasheet.
Exactly.
So she has the Tau sept on her datasheet. I mean, she can only use Master of War for other Tau sept. So even if you put her in your custom sept or your Borkan sept or whatever else, she can't use Master of War, which is her kind of marquee ability.
It's kind of strange.
And not only that, normal drones are sept locked. So if she gets fought in combat, none of your other drones are going to be able to protect her, which is also kind of weird.
It is very strange. I mean, you are seeing it with like the Inkarn and some of the Yanari characters, and people still play them even though they have like half their abilities that don't trigger in the list. So
they add a
it's
lot
still
more though,
interesting.
I'd say, right? Like the psychic powers and things like
Yeah,
that.
that's the thing.
This is really like if this was her psychic power,
Yeah.
and she just can't do it. So she can give herself reroll hits,
right,
which she needs clearly.
Which is actually what the Incarnate ends up doing a lot of the times too. So like I can buff the Inara unit with reroll ones. Same idea here.
Yeah.
Because she does keep the Tau Sept, but she's neutral at the same time.
That's right.
Very strange.
It's very strange.
So
now her drone's changed, and this to me is the biggest change. So she always used to have a command link drone, which she has. You can see the rules here for it. It basically allows you to pick a unit within 12, and it rerolls once to hit. I've always loved this drone. Really, really useful, especially late game when you've lost a lot of your marker lights.
Yeah.
It's super helpful. But you always paired this drone with her 2 special shield drones. They were a 3-up invuln save and -1 to hit. And that little unit was essentially invincible because nobody wants to shoot at it, so it would never die. But they took away those 2 shield drones, and instead they replaced it with a new drone. What's it called? The Guardian drone.
That's right.
And it gives a 6-up feel no pain to all units within 3 inches. 3 is way too little.
It's really rough. I mean, that really says you have to castle with this, and that's kind of really scary. You lose a lot of the advantages of Tau, which is mobility.
Yeah. And the 6-up feel no pain, right? You can already get most of that from an ethereal, and he gives it within 6 inches.
Yeah.
It just doesn't give it to vehicles.
And it's only models within 3 inches.
Yes.
You said units, and
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's worse than that.
It is worse than that. So the only thing this could be good if you could cook up some sort of, castle of vehicles.
Yeah.
And vehicles didn't used to be able to get the 6-up feel no pain. Okay, now maybe.
Right.
But is that really transforming a vehicle list? I don't know. Probably not. Almost certainly not.
I don't think
Maybe
so.
you can have 3 storm surges with her hiding in the middle. The problem is these 2 little drones can get shot so quickly.
Yeah.
So even if it was actually good in that game, they'd just be like, okay, those 2 drones, they're dead.
Yep.
So
they're complete liabilities.
So yeah, that's a big deal. Shadow Sun, not really clear.
Yeah.
She's not shining. The model's great though. So bring the model.
Such a gorgeous model.
Yeah, have fun with that. So let's jump ahead. Actually, we're going to go into Sept Tenants next. Now the Sept Tenants are like any build your own chapter. It's basically you can pick 2, and then that's your new custom Sept.
Yep.
Now keep in mind this isn't like Space Marines.
Yeah, that's an easy thing to miss. Only Space Marines have successor chapters where you keep the original stratagems and abilities and relics. In this one, you are replacing it. So you lose the strats, you lose the relics, and
exactly.
You're kind of exchanging that for this new flexibility, right?
Yeah, and so in some ways that's a bit of a lateral move, right? Some of these are amazing, and you could build very specific armies around them. But in the end, some of the existing Septs with their strats are really good. So why don't we take a look at the first combo?
Yeah.
We're going to, instead of going through them one by one, we're going to go through combos. So the first one is probably the most obviously good one. And it uses Stabilization Systems, which basically allows any battle suit to move and shoot with heavy.
That's cool.
Now, a lot of the big Tau suits, broadsides, riptides, ghost keels, etc., they all have heavy weapons.
Right.
So that's really good. And before you'd have to put a target lock on them. And so now you can take this, put a velocity tracker, you're good to move, you can shoot flyers, gives you a lot more versatility.
Exactly.
So that alone is just really, really good.
Yeah.
The one to pair that with is hardened warheads. And this is probably the one you'll see used most often. And it gives all missile weapons, missile pods, seeker missiles, smart missiles in particular, high yield missile pods, it gives them all an additional AP.
Really nice.
Yeah, especially, so you can think of some units that benefit strongly from both of these, where you take something like a broadside, where it's all missiles top to bottom. There's 3 different kinds of missiles, and it never used to be able to move and shoot because you could never afford to put the target lock on it because you wanted the advanced targeting.
Yep, exactly.
Now your broadsides can move, which was one of their biggest liabilities.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And now all their missiles get additional AP. That means the seeker missiles are -3. The high yield missile pod is -3, and the smart missile is -2. I'm really into that.
That's really nice.
Now broadsides always still suffer from the fact that you could touch them in combat.
Yeah.
That's always been a weakness. But if you ignore that and say, okay, you have some good play, you can play around it. Now that you can move, you can try to avoid it more. I think broadsides just leveled up a ton with this combination.
Oh, absolutely. And -3 is kind of the magic threshold with a lot of armies now. We're seeing this increase in, I ignore -2, -1, -2.
That's right. Sisters would hate this.
They would be so angry if they played this. And yeah, like the broadsides, they're not moving a ton, but before it was just so infeasible to be repositioning them at all.
Exactly. So I'm really into this. This is going to be the most common combo. This is like the new default for a lot of armies, and it takes the army that was already winning and it makes it a little better.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
So why don't we jump into the next one? The next one I think is really good for vehicles. And what it basically does is it again uses hardened warheads. So, because vehicles carry smart missile systems too.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, and so normally they didn't have an advanced targeting, so they had no AP. So now they go from 0 to 1 AP, which is a pretty big jump. So that's good, but the other one they take is gifted pilots. And this is any vehicle or monster that moves under half can reroll wounds of 1.
That's a big deal.
And so Tau already have easy ways to get the reroll hits of 1. So now you're rerolling wounds of 1, and you take these high value guns, these ion guns or rail guns or whatever it is you want to use. And now you just get that little bit of efficiency that you need. I think it's a nice little bit.
It's cool because it's efficiency that's kind of distributed and separated, right? You had the +1 to wound strat, but that was on one unit that's going to get this big buff to wounding, and now you're kind of spreading that out, and everything's just a bit better. That is a hard buff to find in most armies, actually.
Exactly, it really is, yeah. And so it's not amazing. Like I would have loved vehicles to be able to move and shoot without penalty.
Yeah.
But the one thing you got to keep in mind, when you take this, you're no longer Tau Sept, which means you no longer have Long Strike. Right? And Long Strike gives all your vehicles +1 to hit.
Yeah.
Not to mention, he is a boss.
Do you think it's worth it then? Does that outweigh all those benefits?
Well, the thing is about Long Strike is he also is target priority number 1. How many turns do you ever have Long Strike on the board? You have him for what, 1 turn?
That's right.
Okay, so you either have him all game because your opponent has no answer, in which case you won no matter what happens. Or they have an answer to your tanks, and he's the first one to die. He might even die before the game starts if you can't hide him. In which case, this is better than a dead Long Strike. So, and so people take Headhunter and take out your Long Strike really easy. So I don't know.
That's a great point, actually.
So I think it's a bit of a lateral move. Like Long Strike's good, but you don't get his buff all game. This is not as good of a buff, but you get it more of the game.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So, and this doesn't just apply to just the big vehicles. Of course, you could have Piranhas, the Flyers. And the Flyers, for instance, this says move under half your move. Flyers move tons, so they could still move across the board.
They basically always get it.
Yeah, they move 30 inches, they're rerolling wounds of 1. So it's a little bit of efficiency, which is useful. Now this applies to monsters. Technically, you could do this for Riptides if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So wait, I'll give you an example. Let's say you go, okay, well, I'm going to put target locks. The meta's not fly anymore.
Right.
So I'm just going to put target locks on my suits.
Sure.
And then I'll have this now. So they move and shoot and reroll 1s to win now. Okay, cool.
That's cool. Yeah, they're mobile.
Yeah, that's great. and you have no rerolls to wins normally on Riptides.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that would be pretty big for me. So this isn't crazy for that case. I also want to point out that there's a lot of tanks that have missiles all the way around. Right? You have Sky Rays that have seeker missiles.
I was going to say.
And you have something I'm in the middle of painting, which is 3 heavy bombardment Hammerheads.
No.
They might go Legends soon because they don't make the model anymore. But it's basically high-yield missile pods on top. And so
they're missiles.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Super cool.
Okay, so the last one we're going to talk, the last combination we're going to talk about is one that I don't think you'll see as often, but it can work. Basically, it's for more like Crisis.
Yeah. And
it uses turbojets to add 2-inch movement to a Crisis suit. Now, they only move 8. Going to 10 is really helpful because one of the things you have to remember about Crisis suits, only 18-inch range on almost every gun. That is their number 1 liability.
Yeah.
You deep strike them on this side of the board, and then it's like 3 turns until they shoot again, right? So this is adding 2 to their movement and 1 to their advance. That little bit can get them into range just a little bit easier. And speaking of range, the other thing you pair it with is hybridized weaponry plus 4 inches to their guns. So you've just added 6 inches minimum to their threat range, which is very helpful when range was their number 1 weakness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's game won by inches, right? So adding that additional threat range is huge.
Yeah. So it's only just to assault and grenade weapons that get the plus 4-inch range. So
again, for Crisis, that's
everything.
Fine, so.
That's basically everything, right? So I'm really into this. I think this one's great. It doesn't apply to prototype weapons. So if you gave them, I don't know, the flamer in particular, I think is the one that they don't want you to get. There's a prototype flamer. If you added 4 inches to the prototype flamer, you'd be in a good spot.
Problematic.
Yeah, but keep in mind, you could pair this with non-prototype flamers, and now you have 12-inch flamers. Okay, something.
That's something that people always like to see. Right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's 12 inches, so you can't deep strike into it. Yeah. Right? We just need those 13-inch flamers. Okay, so there's a handful of other ones in here, but Bridger, why don't we go back to the book? I'm going to show one last one. Yeah. The one I wished could be better.
Oh, right.
So this one's called Upgunned, and it basically says burst cannons get an additional AP. Now, if you're a Tau player, you know that almost there's almost everything has a burst cannon of some kind, but they're all different kinds of burst cannons. Yeah. right? It'd be a challenge to name all the burst cannons. You've got heavy, swift strike, you've got long barreled, double barreled. The list keeps going, okay? There's so many burst cannons. But this seems like it only applies to the generic burst cannon.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that too often.
No, it's a real shame. I wish, in my heart, I want to believe that it's a typo. But for example, in Space Marines, just to sort of talk about a similar point, and they define specifically bolt weapons or any blah 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 that includes this thing in their name.
That's right.
So it really does seem like it's just literally burst cannons, which I don't remember last time I saw one.
Yeah, most of the units that are good with burst cannons have the non-traditional burst cannon, right? You think of the hazard suits with their double burst cannons.
Yep.
That's what you want. Or you think of even like Remora stealth drones with their long-barreled burst cannons. Just give them some AP. That's what's missing from. Lots of things in the game have AP right now. And
or the Riptide.
Yeah, well, so I think that's the reason they didn't do it. Because the Riptide's so omnipresent that making its gun better would have been maybe too much, because people would have taken the hardened warheads plus that, and all the guns would have been up to AP, and the lethality just would have went through the roof.
That's true.
But it still wouldn't have been out of line with where the game's at AP-wise right now.
Right, yeah. You still have Marines with -3 and 2 damage guns.
-4 and 5 even,
that's crazy.
right? Because doctrines, right?
Yeah.
So all I'm saying, one type of gun getting -1 AP, it's not as good as a whole doctrine. And this is my subtenant, so
I know.
so I think I don't know. I'm gonna email some people I know, and I'm going to ask for it to be improved. We'll see if we can. We'll see if we can exert some force on that.
It does say burst cannons models, which is kind of a weird way to say it.
I think that's probably the digital book sometimes has slightly different wording than the paper book.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen little weird mistakes like that. Okay, so now let's go into the part of the book that is my absolute favorite.
This is really exciting and really fluffy and really good.
That's exactly right. It is fluffy. It's this prototype weapons, which is what the Tau's all about, this weird experimental weaponry and always adapting and changing to the opponent. So not only is it great rules on the table, but it just fits the army super well. But as with any new release, there's a bit of uncertainty about how to play this. So what you do is you get to replace a relic with this, and they want you to put it on your roster. So you pick it before the game. But what's not clear is you have a strat, emergency dispensation, to give you 2 extra relics at the table.
That's right.
Well, as it seems to be written, you can replace those relics with extra prototypes. So that means you could have up to 3 prototype weapons. Now, I know it doesn't explicitly call that out, but this is very similar to other things that do this. So until we get a clear fact, I'm under the impression that that is the way that it plays. But that also gives you another superpower. Not only do you get 3, but you get to pick them at the table.
That's right.
Which means you can tailor them to the opponent.
Huge flexibility.
Big flex. Tau has no pregame. This gives us a teeny bit of pregame where you get to do that tailoring that you don't normally see. And it also is not clear whether you can give more than 1 to the same unit. There's no restriction on that currently.
Which normally they do stipulate, right?
That would be in line normally.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's not clear. So I'll talk about scenario, mostly just one scenario where you could stack for a benefit. Most of these you don't want to stack, so that's okay.
Yeah, a lot of them are kind of solutions to specific problems, which again is why they're so good as pregame tools. But at the same time, it means you're not likely to want to stack a lot of these.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why don't we bring up the book and we'll take a look. We're going to go through most of these because actually I think they're all pretty transformative.
Yeah, I think so.
So the first one, reactive countermeasures. If you've got a gun that no one ever brings, right? This is the air bursting fragmentation projector.
That's right.
You can ignore AP 1 and 2. Now, at first glance, this isn't amazing.
Right.
It's just one model. It's not a whole unit. If it was a whole unit, that would be something.
That's an important thing to look at. Yeah.
Just one model. Because the Tyranid's got something like this, and it was the whole unit.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just one model, and you have to have a terrible gun.
Yeah.
But if you put it on a crisis suit, and that crisis suit has iridium armor, iridium armor gives him a 2-up save. Now he's ignoring AP 1 and 2. Even when your drones go down, that suit can tank more wounds than it should.
That's super gnarly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think if you're taking a big unit, like a lot of people now are saying, oh, I'm going to take a 6, 9-man, whatever, 12-man squad of crisis. Don't take 12-man. But if you want to take these giant squads, this is a good way to give it a bit more durability.
Yeah, it's kind of like a baby storm shield.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really into it. And it's a baby 2-up storm shield, which is kind of interesting.
It's a big deal.
So this one actually will make its way into almost any time I'm taking a big unit of crisis. I'll have that iridium armor suit, and I'll put this on it.
That's right.
So I'm really into that one. This one is for, the next one, Fusion Obliterator. It's for Ghost Keels only, and Ghost Keels are about to see a lot more play. And the main reason you're going to see a lot more play for Ghost Keels is, first of all, they got cheaper in Chapter Approved. They were almost already good. A few of the new subtenants are good for them, and then, of course, they're going to play towards Farsight Enclaves really well. So we'll get into that a little later. But if you have them, and they have fusion guns, which most of them will, this is okay. This is a very minor increase. It's basically strength 8 to 9, and then D3 shots to flat 3 shots.
Okay, well the flat 3 is nice.
That's about it though.
Yeah.
So it's a very minor. This is probably the smallest improvement that you get on a model.
Yeah.
And the Ghost Keel is kind of a model that's there to die.
Right.
So giving them an extra reason to kill him first, not my favorite.
And the other thing to think about with a lot of these is it's an opportunity cost, right? If you're taking this one, then you're not taking something else.
Yeah.
And it's not really that there's any that are just bad, but it's just that there's others that are probably better for your given situation.
Exactly. So speaking of the Ghost Keel, this one is amazing. This is the Advanced EM Scrambler. Put on a Ghost Keel, can't deep strike within 12. Now, because you can pick this at the table, you can be like, oh, I'm up against a key army that needs to do this. Genestealer Cults, like, let's say they're making a comeback.
Yep.
Or you've got Custodes that want to come in close.
Orcs that are jumping over.
Yeah, and you've got Grey Knights coming in with Gate.
Yep.
This is going to be huge.
It's great.
This is almost a reason to include a Ghost Keel in your army flat out, just because you could do this.
I think so.
So I would really, I'm expecting to do this a lot in my own games. So I'll definitely have some Ghost Keels.
Just like, you thought that getting into tower was difficult before. Now imagine there's nothing within 12 that's landing of what's a pretty decent base.
Yeah.
And can infiltrate, of course. So you can have this like
giant, it starts up the board.
It's this 24-inch denial bubble if you set it up correctly.
Yeah. And he's a biggish model too, right?
Yeah, it is.
So that's really great. This one is probably the absolute lowest, only because you have to take a hammerhead with a railgun, which you're already not. It's already not great.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive, but really the output's very bad. Like this is less than 1 dreadnought at a considerably lower price.
Yeah.
You know, like 2 las cannons are going to be stronger than this most of the time, and you know, okay, you get 2 shots instead of 1 shot. It's definitely better. And if you love the railgun, this is the way to do it.
Right.
But the railgun's still not the ion gun for me. So.
Yeah, it's just a bummer. Yeah.
We want railguns to be good. They just need, I don't know what it is they need. Probably some flat damage instead of D6. They need to be doing a flat X.
Yeah, they need something like the Onager guns.
Yeah.
Right? Which
like min 3.
Minimum 3 damage. It can go up to 6. Things like that. Just make it consistent. Because we want to see railguns. We want to see hammerheads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one is interesting. Gatling burst cannon. This one goes to an entire unit. So if you take a unit of 12 Crisis, each with 3 Gatlings, every Gatling gets replaced. So, or every burst cannon gets replaced with a Gatling burst cannon. No, the funny thing is, this changes the name from burst cannon to Gatling burst cannon, so you don't benefit from Upgunned. You see what I'm saying here?
Or do you?
Yeah, or do you, exactly.
No, you
so what this is, every 6 gives you an additional hit.
Yeah.
And every 6 getting an additional hit is really not that meaningful, because you already have you already have a lot of shots, right? It's not hard to get
You're already
shots.
saturating it.
Yeah. And it's unmodified, so your pluses aren't going to work on it. You know, there's no way to really game this to be a ton of shots.
No.
So, I don't know. This one's not amazing for me.
I'd give it a pass.
Yeah. So, Network Marker, this one's a weird one.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it takes your Pathfinder's marker lights, turns them from heavy to assault. It also seemingly removes the restriction that says you can only fire a marker light and not your other gun.
Right.
So your Pathfinders, I guess, can still shoot their pulse carbines and these marker lights at the same time. That's probably an oversight, but it's true. It's not in here. The problem is here is they're just going to be the first to die.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like one Thunderfire cannon and they're out of here.
They're already such a fragile unit, and just getting one more reason to kill them and just remove them off the board.
Yeah.
It's just too tasty.
So that one's really tough.
Yeah.
This one actually I really like. So Storm Surges are almost great.
We're getting there.
Right? They came down in points.
Yep.
They have good firepower. You know, I'm into them. And one of their best abilities is the Destroyer Missiles.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you saw, it's a little while ago, we were playing against Iron Hands with the Storm Surge, and it did like a flat 12 mortal wounds or 9 mortal wounds with its Destroyer Missiles to kill this Dreadnought, and that was pretty key.
That's great.
Right? That was pretty key to winning the game. So I think that's making sure that all these Destroyer Missiles always do a flat 3. That's pretty interesting. In the days of this unkillable Leviathan Dreadnought, if you can do like guaranteed 12 mortal wounds to something,
huge deal.
Right? He can't pass those off.
That's right.
So it just dies,
they
basically.
Don't care about armor, don't care about inbones.
So I'm actually fairly interested in that.
Yeah.
Your Storm Surge plus this might be a solution to those unkillable Dreadnoughts.
I would love to see Storm Surges on the table.
Me too. And the thing is, because you can give this to multiple, you could actually give this same thing to 2 separate Storm Surges. Right? So
that's crazy.
that could actually be really useful. Now again, you have to have a Storm Surge.
Yeah.
But if you did, you could pick a game where it really is going to matter. You know, hey, they have like a bunch of paladins that are exactly 3 wounds, and I really want to hurt a bunch of them. Go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
This one I love, the accelerated photon grenade. The humble photon grenade has won me so many games because there's already a strat to turn it into an EMP, which is D3 mortal wounds. Now the photon grenade gets even more useful.
That's right.
This one is so good because what it does, it halves charge. First of all, just full stop there. If I hit you with it, halves charge. That's really good, especially if you're on a Tausept model who's already hitting on 5s.
Right.
And if you got a marker light off, so it's 5s rerolling 1s, and it's D6 shots. So pretty good chance you could do it.
Yeah.
It also means you can't advance. So that's more in your own turn, but you'd have to be within 12. So what model are you within 12 of that you don't want them to advance? That one's a tricky one.
It's weird because at first you look at it and you say, it cannot advance. It's not half advance, which is what normally is the case. But then you look at it situationally, and yeah, it's kind of weird. But
yeah, so that one's kind of weird. Anyways, it's still something. Now, what's strange about this is you can stack this with a normal photon grenade because it has a different name. So even if they make it to combat, if you got the advanced or the accelerated photon grenade and a normal one, they're at -2 to hit in combat.
Right.
That's pretty good too, and that can really help your survivability if you get some of these scary units into combat with you. So I'm really into this one. Again, situational, but you can pick it at the situation you need it.
It's a great utility, and this will be one where if you're a quote-unquote good player, and as you practice, that'll become better and better.
Yeah.
You know.
So this is the single best one. Crosslegged Stabilizer Jets. What a name! And you could give it to a crisis commander or an entire unit. And what it's basically going to do is allow you to reroll hits of 1 and wounds of 1. That's just crazy.
Just super solid.
A captain and lieutenant on a whole unit. And again, it's another reason to take one of those big squads of 6 crisis. Again, you could take 2 squads of 6 crisis, give it to both. You could take 3 squads and give it to all 3, right? You could give this to a Cold Start commander who's just running up and needs the efficiency on his own to hit and wound correctly. This you're going to see in every army. You're going to see it multiple times in every army. This is by far just the most standout one.
It's so consistent. And again, we're seeing this idea of sort of decentralizing these things, where you can spread out your buffs, you can spread out your rerolls, and not have to be so clumped together.
In fact, it's part of a trend that we're going to continue to harp on, where marker lights matter less and less.
I know.
Where they're basically giving you rerolls in so many other ways, giving you marker lights in other ways, that the traditional model with a marker light shoots a marker light, that whole thing is starting to go away. You're still relying on things that almost are like marker lights, but not quite.
No, definitely.
So the Magna rail rifle augments an entire squad of broadsides.
Yeah, I'm really curious what you think about this one.
I love this one. I love this one. So you take an entire squad of 3 broadsides, and they all get, what they're basically getting here is they're getting +1 strength, and they're getting minimum 3 damage, right? So it's D6 damage, but min 3. And it's keeping all its other abilities. This is now the best rail rifle platform that the army has. So you've got 6, if you've got a full squad, it's 6 shots, strength 9, -4, min 3 damage. And there's some stuff coming up in the meta that's 3 wounds.
Yeah.
And again, if you had these on broadsides that can move and shoot, then you could freely put a velocity tracker on them. So if you got those planes, they'll down planes.
Oh, they're so dead.
Right? So, and the range is huge. Tau normally don't have that much range. And again, if they're moving every turn, you can't hide from them super well. This is good. And as we said, we already saw something that are boosting broadsides. This boosts them even further, so I'm super into this one.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I would definitely be playing this one.
I just look at that profile and I think it's crazy.
That's what the rail rifle should be.
Yeah.
Min 3 damage, strength 9.
That's exactly what we were saying, yeah. But it's a Magna rail rifle, please.
Yeah, Magna. That's the thing. Going from strength 8 to strength 9 is so big. It's one of the biggest jumps.
It is actually.
Yeah. Okay, so this one boosts the Riptide ion gun, which you never see.
Right.
Because you want... The Riptide heavy burst cannon is just one of the most magical guns in the game. Right? It's like defining metas around the world for years. It's an amazing gun. So the idea of like, I'm going to bring a Riptide and not bring that gun seems insane. But this version of it is okay. If you knew what you were up against, like you always played in a meta where you needed the ion.
Sure. It helps a little bit because the reason that you take the other gun over this generally is it's so consistent, right? You have that volume of shots that will do what you want it to do. And whereas this weapon traditionally, it's like, kind of hit or miss. It's not great against different targets.
Yeah.
And they do a little bit to mitigate that.
One of the things that's interesting about this is the non-overcharge profile on it is actually really good.
Yep.
So you don't have to overcharge your gun. You can now overcharge your shield every turn or overcharge your shield and your movement.
Because it was mandatory before.
Right.
You had to.
And so now you actually have a chance to not have to overcharge and still get a lot more out of your Riptide. So if you had a Riptide with an Ion, this is strictly better.
100%.
No doubt.
Yep.
Strictly better. 3 plus D3 damage is super scary. And you brought the Ion to kill vehicles, so it's really good against that. But again, is this enough to make you take an Ion Riptide? I don't think so.
No.
High-powered Incinerators. You know, this is one I really wished made Flamers viable, but they're still 8-inch range, Assault D6. That's the same profile. The only thing they gave them is within half range, 4 inches. They get +1 strength.
Oh, dang.
4 inches.
To strength 5?
I don't know.
Ugh, with
Who wants to be within
base?
4 inches? With no rend, yeah. No, this isn't good.
No.
This is not working for me.
We said none of them were bad, but this one may be bad.
This one's objectively bad. 4 inches. That's too close.
That's
Even
absurd.
Farsight does not want to be that close.
I know, right?
Farsight will stay at 6, thank you.
6 is much different.
Yeah, I'm saying it's 6. I am not going to 4. That is where I draw the line on range.
That's such a bummer.
But so that's the end of the prototype systems.
That's right.
You can see though some of these are really amazing. They make you want to take a unit that you weren't taking already.
Exactly.
The Stabilizer Jets clearly it takes the things that are amazing and ups them, and that's the theme. So a lot of the stuff that was already good got better. Yeah. And so that's still probably going to be the most common stuff.
And that's something we have seen before with Psychic Awakening, right? Is there definitely attempts to sort of buff these things that we don't see as often. Yeah. But ultimately, you're kind of buffing everything and making the things that are already amazing. Yeah. Riptide, even better.
Exactly. Let's jump in and take a look at some of the strats. Yeah. And we're only going to go through a few of them because some of them they're all great to have.
Yeah, they're all nice additions.
It's all great to have. And in fact, one of the things we're seeing is that the Tau now have a reason to want CP.
Right. The
Tau were not a CP-hungry army before. In fact, there were no stratagems, period, that were required parts of any build. So there was no Tau build that required a strat. If you said, okay, no strats for Tau at all, the army would play the same.
I mean, you had like, what, 8 CP in your list? And often, like, not often, but you would even sometimes end up with more CP than you started.
Yeah,
and
I've gone through games where I've spent 1 CP, 2 CP. I've gone through games where I wished I had a bit more because I was like healing Riptides or whatever. But yeah, you don't really need them. Now all of a sudden you have a lot of really interesting stuff, even some pre-game stuff that gets really costly, like emergency dispensation.
Relics,
right. So I don't play with a battalion currently. I'm going to be putting a battalion in almost every list.
Yeah, see, that's big.
And what that means is less drones, basically.
Right.
So more fire warriors.
Good for the rest of us.
Yeah, good for all of you. But well, maybe not. Okay, so why don't we're going to take a look at the strats here, and we're going to go through them look at a few of them that I think are the best first.
Yeah.
One of the best ones here, aerial targeting, and this continues that theme of marker lights mattering less.
Yeah.
Right, because what this does, you pick a unit, and your whole army counts it as having 1 more marker light.
Oh, I even missed it was the whole. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So it's really, really strong. Again, this can target a character. This can target something that marker lights normally couldn't hit. This is like a baby version of the Saxia ability to bomb marker lights, because that was the only way to get a marker light on something you couldn't previously target.
Yeah, exactly.
This can now get it on things that are even invisible to you, right? And again, this could be one in a building, and now all your SMS have reroll ones on it, right?
Right.
Very, very useful. This is almost like an every turn thing for town now.
No,
this is like the way to not have to have marker lights, and it's only 1 CP. The Saxia one is 2.
Sure.
It's a very different thing. So this is a huge winner. This is now like a thing that's top of mind, top of the stack. You're going to be playing this all the time.
Yeah.
Really, really good. This is the one that got all the love, though. Modulated weaponry. And for good reason. It takes any non-Titanic unit and it gets max shots with its random shot weapons, right?
Bananas.
So obviously, we all know where everyone's mind goes. It goes to the Flamer Boy right here.
Yeah.
The Yavara. And the Yavara has already been... Yavara's already been kind of a hero from time to time in the meta, especially when Eldar Flyers were dominating.
Right.
But this makes him really good.
It's huge, because now what is it? It's 3d6 shots normally?
Yeah, so it's 18 flamers and 9 of the ion gun. And the ion gun, let me remind you,
I forgot about
strength 9, minus 4, flat 3 damage, and every 6 is D3 mortal wounds in addition.
It's such a big deal.
Oh my god. This guy is a beast, and he's a battle suit, so he's benefiting from all these other rules.
Yeah.
And again, if you make him Farsight, he benefits from that. If you keep him as Borkan, which is what everyone mostly did.
Yeah.
But I'm not so completely sold as Borkan is the only way to play him. I think I think you can get him up close in other ways.
Yeah, that's true.
But Borken is the most clearly strong version way to run him. But this strat isn't just for the Yavara. This strat works for hammerheads who want to get 6 shots out of their ion gun.
Yeah.
It works for the Tau Tiger Shark. I got a Tiger Shark over on the shelf there. Tiger Shark goes from a random number of shots to like 18 ion shots all of a sudden.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? And so there's a lot of things that benefit from this.
Yeah.
It's not just, the Yavara is just the most obvious. Of course, I have an Arvarna on the wall there. Arvarna has, 6d3 shots. That just goes to full. And those are flat 3 damage each, right?
Oh my God.
Not that the Arvarna is better than the Yavara, because he's not.
No.
But it's still at 60-inch range.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Oh my gosh.
So it takes all these things that you would have been like, that was a joke to play the
Right.
Arvarna. You're just one of those silly fluff players. But now it's like, watch out.
It's super scary.
This thing can hit you so hard.
It'll delete something within range.
It'll delete 2 something.
It's so scary.
Really, for sure. So that one is super good.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about Pulse Onslaught, because this is part of another theme that's all going all through this book. This takes any breacher unit, allows them to count their close range profile at 15-inch. Close and medium range. But
before it was 6 or 8?
6 inches, yeah.
Oh my God.
So this is big because the breachers were already trending to be the best fire warriors, the best troops.
That's right.
Because they have strength 6 minus 2 AP when they're close range, but they had to get real close. Now, 15-inch range, this is a reason to take them more often and to take 10-man squads.
Yep.
Because breachers already had another strat from the existing book, Breach and Clear. Reroll all wounds if your target's in cover, or benefiting from cover, I believe.
Right.
So this really is saying, okay, we want battalions now. Those battalions are going to be made out of breachers.
That's great. Yeah.
So that's, I think, the change. Now, I don't own a lot of breachers. Most of mine are like the long side. I got to get painting.
That's cool because they have a role, right? It's not just attacks where you're filling up this battalion.
Yeah.
They're actually doing things. They're getting their own tricks.
Yeah.
More things to suck up those command points that they're giving.
Breachers benefit so much from Devilfish also. I just wish the Devilfish wasn't 100 points. It's like 98 points or something like that. So maybe it's even more than that when you put SMS on it. It's too much.
You don't have to put SMS on it.
Now you do with hard warheads.
That's right.
But and again, you pair these guys with Farsight Enclaves. So they're at 12, let's say.
Yeah.
And they're getting the long range profile. They're getting the extra marker light for free.
Exactly.
They get up close. Now they're actually re-rolling their wounds. So I think it's really, really good.
It's a really big change in flexibility, honestly.
I agree. Yeah. So we've got that. Now the next one that we're going to take a look at is one of the most exciting as well. Coordinated engagement. Basically, you take a crisis unit, and it just counts, the target it's shooting at counts as having 5 marker lights for 2 CP.
So good.
So it's saying, pick one of the deadliest shooting units in the game, which now you have more of a reason than ever to bring, and give it +1 to hit, basically. +1 to hit, reroll ones, ignore cover, advance and shoot with no penalty. Being
able to do it automatically is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've played Tau or played against Tau, there's this super tense moment of
did they get the 5 marker light?
Did they get it? I'm going to reroll. When am I going to do like marker light uplink? And you don't have to do any of that now. You can just say this unit is going to do their thing and it's going to happen. I just had to pace you.
So again, I want to remind you, this theme of not needing marker lights, you don't even need marker lights to get 5 marker lights now. You can get to 5 without having a single marker light in your army now.
Rip marker lights.
Just 2 CP. So marker lights are disappearing from a lot of my builds because on the turn I need it, which I only ever needed this once or twice in a game, because you only do this when they have a giant target, like they have a knight, or they have a giant squad of something, and you're just like, I gotta delete, get some efficiency here. So really into this, that's great. I want to talk about a few that are okay, but they're not as amazing. Promising Pupil gives you an extra warlord trait. Now, why this is interesting is you always had the tension between taking for Unity Devastation, which you wanted to take, and you wanted to take on a character that was backfield, like an Ethereal. But if you had a Cold Star, the Exemplar of the Montcalm was always good because he could advance with no penalty. Now you could just take that. And so for 1 CP, you can have Exemplar of Montcalm, and he doesn't count as your Warlord. So they can't like slay the Warlord on him.
That's a big deal for that.
So he gets the trait without having to be your Warlord. It could matter in some games. I've had it matter before. So
I think so.
That one's pretty big. The other one, this is part of a strategy that I'm going to show off later. Sworn Bodyguards. You take a Crisis Bodyguard unit, reroll all hits and wounds in combat if they're next to a character.
Combat Tau? What?
Yes, Combat Tau. I'm going to show a combo later that uses this. It's 1 CP.
That's crazy.
I'm excited about this. Crisis suits have 3 attacks each, bro. And they have strength 5. And if they have an ATS, they're -1 in combat.
That's right.
So you can you should model them all with ATS daggers.
Little
This is my -1 AP ATS right here.
That's so cool.
And I use it as a sight on my gun for the
Right.
extra AP. So that one's really good. And the last one I want to show is the one I'm not sure about yet. Deadly Aim. This is part of a theme of saying, okay, are sniper drones viable now?
Right.
So when they're within half range, -2 AP. When not, -1 AP. Obviously, they needed this. Sniper drones with no AP did nothing.
It's useless.
And now you have a strat just above that we looked at to give a marker light to a character. So you've got a marker light on them. Obviously, this is 3 CP we just spent. If this was a 1 CP strat, it would still almost be good.
Yeah, maybe.
At 2, it's like I think we could clearly say it's too expensive.
It is too much.
It's too much at 2. Like I can have 5 marker lights for 2 CP.
Right.
Why am I only getting?
Please. That one's crazy. So no.
Why am I only getting +1 AP on a squad of drones that are dead in 1 turn?
Yeah, I mean, it makes them a little bit less reliant on can you roll 6s, because that's basically the only thing they could do before, and now their regular shooting is a bit better.
Yeah.
And you're rerolling 1s with that marker light.
I think if the meta ebbs and flows back towards characters, like the little squishy characters mattering more, then hey, I'll pull them off the shelf and I'll have this in my back pocket.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
For the turn you need it, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to go through the rest, but I do want to call out, and I've said it already, emergency dispensation from the main book. Getting 2 extra relics, which is now 2 extra prototype systems. That's one of the best strats you have now.
Right.
You will use it every game. It's like it's the only essential task strat now, which before it was the worst because the relics were the worst. And so now our relics are prototype systems, which is really great.
So good.
So okay, so the next part we want to jump to is probably one of the coolest parts in this book, and it's the fact it's a whole mini supplement for Farsight Enclaves, right?
Let's be honest, this is what everyone's excited for.
This is what I'm excited for. Everyone loves Farsight Enclaves, right?
They're so cool.
And the Farsight Enclaves is got the most personality, some of the best fluff. Everything's cool. Everyone wants them to be great, and actually, for once, I'm going to go so far as to say I think they're the best set. Their rules are the best. They play the best on the table, and they have the most varied list builds.
Yeah.
In fact, I've written several different kinds of lists, but I've written a brigade. I wrote a double brigade, and they all work. All these lists are like, this is good. So I think there's a lot of experimentation in here that's going to be really exciting. And one of the big things is, of course, their subtenant changed.
That's right.
They got a double subtenant. They always had the very strange reroll 1s to win within 6 inches.
6 inches.
That was tight. Okay.
Why is it
Couldn't
6?
even, not even 8 or 10. 6. It's like no. Get those swords out.
I'm gonna get up there. Yeah.
But it doesn't work in combat. It's only shooting.
No.
Yeah, that always broke my heart.
No.
Give it to me in combat.
That's so
no, it's
dope.
shooting only. Anyways.
Yeah. But they
Let's
have a
move
second one now.
Let's move on. They have a second one that's really good. It's pretty good, actually. Within 12 inches, you count as having 1 more marker light.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so what's great about that is, of course, that's just reroll 1s. Again, another reason not to have marker lights.
Yep.
But it also gets you closer to 5 because it counts as 1 more.
Yeah.
So that's a really nice way of wording it. Also, for instance, if you had like spam of seeker missiles, you only need 1 more marker light if you get up close, with planes and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm into it. I think that's a really great one.
It's great.
It's certainly one of the only steps now that has 2 abilities.
Right.
I think the only other step with 2 abilities might be Saxia or something.
Yeah.
Which is like +1 leadership and the extra shots or
I
something.
didn't even know about the +1 leadership.
Yeah, nobody does because it doesn't matter.
Well, it's funny.
It matters on your drones.
All the custom ones have 2, but the originals didn't get like a second trait. Like,
that's right. The originals
some
need
other armored marines
sometime in the future. I imagine Tau Sept will have 2, and they'll all get 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that's cool so far.
Let's jump in and take a look at some of the Farsight. So one of the first things that you'll notice is they reprinted the 8, and the 8 are
so cool.
They're so cool, but the rules did not change, right? So if you liked the 8 before, great, you have them again here.
Yep.
It's still one of the weirdest interactions. It's counted as 1 unit, 1,120 points. So it's 1 choice.
Is it 1 drop too?
Yes.
What?
That's my understanding. It's 1 drop. You drop it at once.
Yeah.
And so how does this even work? Like if you targeted it for marked for death, it's 1 choice.
Is it eligible for any of those things, like Headhunter?
Yeah, they are still all individual characters once they're on the table, but it is 1 pick. That's weird, right?
That's super weird.
It's not just me. That's weird. Now, the funny thing is, they specifically say in here that you can deep strike it. It's in here somewhere. They say that you could deep strike it, and but you can't because it's 1 pick. You can't break it in half and then deep strike half, can you? Like, that's super unclear to me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think there was an FAQ for that.
Yeah?
I think you can deep strike them individually.
Okay.
I seem to remember
But then how do you count how much points is in reserve?
That's an excellent question.
Okay.
That's a great question.
So they do all have a power level of 7 each, I think, is what they gave them. It's somewhere in here.
Yeah. But right now it uses both.
Yeah, but now it uses points and power level. So
look at this monstrous data sheet.
56 power.
Yeah.
I love it.
So anyways, you could see this is normally this was not it wasn't a problem because you didn't see it in a lot of match play games.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you that I think this could show up in some match play games.
Oh dang!
I have a good friend, Israel Sanchez, who's been working on this, and he's been trying to bring it to tournaments. It's hard to make work.
Yeah.
But I think some of the new changes make it more viable, and we'll definitely go through that in a bit. So let me jump a little further into here, and we're gonna talk about some of their stratagems because they only have 1 page. But keep in mind, they get all the rest.
Yeah, this is like a supplement, so this is the same as everyone else is getting.
Yeah, so they have all the other good stuff,
right,
plus these, which is one of the great reasons that they're amazing. Okay, so this is the most amazing strat. Veteran cadre, you pick a unit of battlesuits, and they just get +1 weapon skill, +1 ballistic skill, right? And it's 2 CP because you're going to do it to a big unit most of the time, but you can only do it once. So fine.
Get out here, Brian.
It would be fun. It'd be fun to have 2 veterans.
It would be, yeah.
It's fine. You give me 1. So I think a lot of people are going to be taking around the 5, 6, 7 number.
Yeah.
I think that's about the right number. The thing is, if you've ever played a large unit of Crisis, you'll realize they actually take up a lot of footprint on the board.
Yeah.
Especially if they have drones around them. Once the unit gets big, it's actually really hard to place them. Not only that, it's especially out of reserve. It's really hard that when you drop them, you've now committed a huge amount of your army to one side of the board. And then you have to get them over to the other side of the board.
Yeah.
So it's kind of too many eggs in one basket. Not to mention all the strats and abilities that just -1 to hit for this whole unit, and now half your army is just -1 to hit or something. Crazy things like that.
Well, it goes both ways, right? Because you see with these strats, a lot of the times they are incentivizing you to put all these buffs on one unit. But in this one, it is important to remember that there's the reality of playing it actually makes that not feasible.
Precisely.
You probably shouldn't run, what, 12? What's the max?
12 is, I think, what you can do. It would be an absurd amount of points.
I mean, it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, let's do it.
You should.
We'll do a game with it.
We should.
I think I have like 30 Crisis, so we'll do this more than we can fit in the army. So really into this.
That's great.
I'm going to do this in almost all my games that I play Farsight. I'm definitely doing this in all my games that I play Farsight. This is a new mandatory strat, so you can already start to see CP's adding up here.
Right.
I've spent 5 pre-game minimum, maybe more.
Dicey.
That's how many CP I start with now most of the time.
Right.
So that one's not too crazy. So this next one, Furious Assault. At first glance, I actually skipped over this, but then I realized it's really good. Basically, what it does is when you charge, with a jetpack unit, every single model of yours that ends within an inch of a unit, you roll for, and on a 3-up, that unit suffers a mortal wound. So if you have a unit of 6, you could do 6 mortal wounds to whatever target if you can all get within an inch.
And it's on a 3-up.
It's on a 3-up. Now, Tau already have 3 or 2 other ways of doing this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Tau already have a thing that everyone within 3 inches, every model within 3 inches of a battle suit, on a 6 takes a mortal wound. And then they have another one that when a suit dies, on a 4-up, I think it's D3 mortal wounds. Or no, it's just 1 or something like that. I always think it's D3 and then it ends up being 1, and I end up cheating people. And I always forget it. But anyways, the combination here is interesting. And there's been many situations in my life where there's just this 1 wound thing.
Yep, exactly.
And it's like, okay, I'll charge it. Boom, pop this. I have like 5 chances to get a mortal wound on it. Okay, your Smash Captain's dead. Your Leviathan Dread's dead or whatever.
Yes.
Just having that tool for 1 CP in your pocket, I love this. And nobody expects it. It's like, you can't get through my whatever. I have a bunch of Terminators or something. It's like, no, they're gone. Really, really great.
For a 6-man unit, that's reliably 4 mortal wounds.
Yes.
With a very flexible and fast unit, right? That's the other thing, is they can hop over, charge, and do some really nasty stuff with it.
So yet another reason to take Breachers.
Yes.
So this is within 12 inches, just reroll wounds. So you already have the Breach and Clear, which says you could reroll wounds at any time if you're in cover. This is just reroll wounds out of cover.
When they get danger close.
Yeah, danger close. And you want to be within 12 because that's when you're getting that free reroll ones.
Exactly.
And so rerolling all wounds at 12, not bad because for another CP, you're getting your high strength profile. So you won't be doing this all the time because you don't want to burn on your CP on Breachers.
Yeah.
But when you really need the Breachers to hit, they can hit.
Yeah.
So I'm really into that. Defense in numbers is great as well. It's 2 CP though, which is a little too much. But you take a unit of Crisis, and they get a 5 of Feel No Pain for the turn.
It's good. I mean, it's going to be very clear when you want to use this.
Yeah.
You're playing Grey Knights.
Exactly. Or like your drones are dead, and you just need to tank it for a turn, or you need to tank mortal wounds for a turn.
I was gonna say, a lot of the spells you actually can't do savior protocols, right? So this gives you a way to actually negate that. It is expensive, but you'll know when to use it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super useful.
I'm really into that one.
Yeah.
This is a strat that you're almost gonna play every single turn. Focus Fury basically allows any character in your army to reroll all wounds. So you take a Crisis Commander with 18 ion shots or whatever. Oh, great! Or 12 ion shots. Sorry, and reroll all wounds.
Oh my god!
For 1 CP.
That's so good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So good. Or you take that one Cold Star Commander who just has to do the business. He has to succeed.
Yeah.
1 CP, reroll all your wounds.
That's a big deal.
So good.
Super big deal.
You can see why we need the CP now.
Right.
These are all so good. This is the last strat, and basically, I think this one at first glance isn't amazing, but then I know how to break it. So basically, you take a flyer. You take a flyer for 1 CP. You pick 1 flyer, and anyone within 3 inches of it can take D3 mortal wounds on a 4-up. Or you could pay 2 more CP and pick 3 flyers. Okay, but it says a flyer unit, not model. You could take Remorse Stealth Drones. It's a unit of 6. For 1 CP, you could pick that whole unit of 6, and that whole unit moves all the way up along the whole front line of your opponent.
Right.
And on a 4-up, the whole army, every single unit takes D3 mortal wounds.
They have the flyer battlefield rule?
Yes, they do.
What? That's so weird.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So this is another place where GW did not think of Forge World. I'm positive because they would have just said model.
Yeah.
But it's unit, my friends, and this could be like 12 mortal wounds to an army per turn. And it's a good screen for your commanders, which is already what this army's trying to do.
Yeah.
So the Remors are already excellent pairs for Cold Stars.
Right. That's hilarious.
And I think that's really crucial. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. So I really think that's gonna get fact. And if it doesn't, my Remors are gonna be coming out of again. I'm gonna be dusting off the Remoras, and you're gonna be seeing them a lot more.
I love it. I'm picturing like right at the Valkyries as this swarm of Remoras comes over the hill.
Yeah, so they also have a couple unique relics and warlord traits. I'm only going to talk about one of the relics, and it is the Talisman of Arthas Moloch.
Oh.
What a name. Basically what it does is it gives you deny. That's it. That's all you need to know.
The Tau army?
Yeah, it gives you a deny, a 24-inch deny, and it also gives you a 5-up invulnerable save, which is clutch.
Yeah.
Now keep in mind, you could pick this at the table. So you don't have to, it's like, oh, I'm against a psychic army. I'll take the deny.
Yep.
And you don't always have to, it's like, okay, I'm against Grey Knights. They're going to get all their powers off anyways. I won't take it.
Right.
Oh, but I'm against Chaos and I really need to stop a warp time or something else. Great, I will take it.
Exactly.
So this is big.
It's a big deal.
It's going from 0 to 1, going from nothing to something.
Tau players have been asking for this for a long time.
Yeah, now it's only Farsight.
Right.
So it's another reason to splash in a Farsight detachment. Like, let's say you wanted to play Tau Step. Have your 2 Tau Step detachments. Take the 1 Farsight detachment with 2 commanders in it.
That's right.
And give one of them a talisman if you need it.
Yeah.
That's money.
That's great.
So I'm really into that. They also have some warlord traits, and these warlord traits, not super amazing.
Yeah.
The one that I think is interested is Blooded Through War here. And it basically makes you almost always auto-pass morale. And this could be good if you go for more of that infantry blob that is now more interesting than ever with Breachers.
Yeah, totally.
So you take Breachers, and now all of a sudden you've got a lot more of them sticking around.
Yeah.
But this doesn't apply to drones or anything because drones don't have
knives.
They don't have the body knives. They don't have blood.
They don't have blood either.
They have the opponent's blood on them. That's it. So that's about it. Okay, so that's it for the book itself.
Yeah.
What I want to do is we could take the book down. I want to go through just this one combo that I love, and it's basically a crisis suit combo. So I'm gonna bring that up. So what we've got here is we've got a unit of 5 or 6. Let's say take 6 Farsight crisis and take the bodyguards.
Right.
Bodyguards are only a few points more, and they get an extra attack.
Makes sense.
They have an extra attack and extra leadership.
Yeah.
So they're basically all sergeants. That's what and they get to soak wounds for crisis commanders, which is actually very useful now that you have so many of them. Okay, you make them veterans. That's 2 CP. So they all have a weapon skill now of 4.
Yep.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
And they all have a ballistic skill of 3. Really good. Now you give them all ATS and double ion.
Okay.
Except one of them has an iridium suit with an airburst fragmentation projector.
There you go.
And then he can also have an ATS.
Sounds good.
And he can have 1 ion if you want. Whatever.
Sure.
So fine,
why not?
Whatever you got to do.
Throw it in.
Then you can give him 2 prototype weapons. You give them the one that ignores AP 1 and 2.
Yep. On
So
the
now,
Iridium.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you could give them the one that reroll once to hit and once to wound. Okay? So now this squad is very independent, hits super well. When they deep strike, they can drop zone clear to hit on 2s. Any other turn after that, they could use coordinated engagement to hit on 2s.
Oh my god, rerolling the ones.
Rerolling ones to hit and wound.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? Now, when their drones die, they can have the 5-up feel no pain. And then in combat, they reroll all hits and wounds at strength 5, AP 1. And it's a lot of attacks.
That's great.
It's 3 attacks, it's like 18 attacks each.
Yeah.
Or 18 attacks for the unit, strength 5, -1 AP, rerolling all hits and wounds. Right?
So great.
And it's pretty good.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. So this is what you want Crisis to be.
Yeah.
They're playing the whole
Dark Side
game,
Enclaves.
and this is a squad of commanders at this point, right? They're all hitting entirely, and because you're burning the CP for the extra, the plus to hit, you don't have to worry about the ion overcharge.
Yeah.
Unless you're shooting at something that's -5
That's a
or
great
something.
point.
But you are starting to see like Possess Bomb, like at -3. You would just not overcharge and then give your plus to hit, and you're still hitting this unit. You could drop zone clear and coordinated, and you could be hitting on 1s.
That's
And
crazy
so-
for Tau, because that's always been one of the big banes.
Yeah.
Is like if you have any negative modifiers, and suddenly
Yeah.
you have tools for that
And
beyond
so,
marker lights.
That's right. So you can all of a sudden come in and just wipe that unit,
Yeah.
and they've got nothing. So I really love this combo.
It's so cool.
This is the way I'm going to be playing Crisis when I do it.
Yeah.
So the last thing we want to go through, we're going to jump through a few army list ideas.
Yeah.
Now I do want to stress, there's a number of list ideas out there. The best list has not been found.
Yeah.
The best list isn't exactly one of the ones I'm going to be showing here. I'm just going to be showing you the general direction that you might already be seeing, or that I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So the first one we're going to go through is the obvious. It's the upgraded triple Riptide list.
You know it. You love it.
You love it, yeah. And the idea is here, you either swap out a Riptide for a Yavara, or add in a Yavara at the expense of a commander and a few drones.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and the idea here is that Tau always has been about defense.
Right.
I will outlast you, but Space Marines now hit so hard that you don't outlast them.
Right.
So you need to now bring the offense.
That's right.
You need to say, okay, my new tactic is to go hard, really hard at you, and then turn the tide in my favor early on.
Yeah.
So sure, I won't try to stay back with as many drones, but I'm going to hit you with this super hard Yavara for a couple turns that you can't answer, of course, and all the Riptides. You are losing a commander, but it's a fair trade.
I think it's a very fair
It's
trade.
a very fair trade. And so I have a version of the list here up. You can see there's less drones, and I also have a battalion here because you need the CP. You could cut the battalion for 15 more drones. So that's the trade here. It's 15 drones, basically something like that. It's less than 15 drones. Sorry, you'll get like 10 drones or something like that.
You'll cut 10 drones?
You'll get 10 drones back if you cut the
Gotcha.
battalion.
Yeah.
And
how many CP would that be then?
You'd be not much.
Yeah.
You'd be at like 5
This is
CP to
scary.
start.
Oh, gosh.
You'd have enough to use the Yavara ability maybe 3 times during the game.
Okay.
And then nothing else.
Right.
You
That's
know?
fair.
And your commanders would take rerolls of your 2 commanders would hit reroll hits and wounds of 1.
Yep.
So that's already costing you 1 CP
That's fair.
to do that.
But you're investing in the CP in the beginning, so you don't have to pay them later on.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's talk about the second list. This one's a broadside-centric list.
Yes.
And it's basically playing off the combo we talked of.
Yeah.
Move and shoot, and then your missiles getting extra AP. And you just take max broadsides. So 9 broadsides.
So cool.
I would say take 6 missile sides.
Yeah.
And then you take 3 with rail rifles and give them the Magna rail rifles.
Of course.
I actually think that's really interesting. And then you just stack 3 commanders on top of that, 'cause standard. And you give 2 of your commanders rerolls hits, so you're using all 3 of your prototype weapons. Because you've got 2 on commanders, and then 1 on the broadsides.
Yep.
And you can have a ton of drones because a broadside unit can have 6 drones with it.
Oh, really?
So you can have 3 normal drone squads and then 3 more large drone squads. And so now you still have lots of drones, but without the liability of lots of little squads. And you don't need the marker lights as much, so you can have some marker drones. My version up on the screen has a few marker drones in it, but you could easily take them out for more shield drones if you want more durability. I think this, obviously, if you get touched, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
But because you can move, you're less likely to have that happen than ever.
Yeah, exactly. It's not entirely reliant on deployment.
Yeah.
Which before it was a really scary thing setting up those broadsides.
Yeah. And now you have these drone walls. You have multiple layers. You can make it that much harder to get you.
I like it because it is so different from those other builds, right?
Yeah.
And broadsides are just cool. It's been a while since we've really seen them.
Yeah.
They went away even in your list like a year ago.
Yeah.
And now you can just double down on them.
They have an impressive amount of firepower. The one challenge is they're really easy to hide from because they're super short and they move slow. And so you could play the game running around them, but when I have so many of them, it's really hard.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, I have all these SMS with 2 AP, so you're not hiding that well.
No.
So even just the SMS getting you, it's like 30 SMS per model or per unit, so you're in big trouble.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so the next list I want to show you is probably the one you're going to start to see most often, or some version of it, and this is the Commander Spam. So
it's back.
Yeah. I was guilty of this.
You're so guilty.
I was guilty. I repented for a few years, but now that they're letting me do it again, I'm all in. And basically, you could take 6 commanders, 3 enforcers, 3 cold stars. I think you take maybe 1 cold star with missiles, just so he can kind of go wherever he wants, get secondary objectives, but still be playing the game.
That's right.
And you take them all as Farsight. Of course, you have to get the commanders. And then you can splash in whatever you want, but you should splash things that are going to screen for the commanders.
Exactly.
My version of screening for the commanders is stealth teams to hide in buildings right at the start of the game. My commanders can advance up turn 1 but still be screened.
Right.
But also ghost kills, because they're up the board also, and they're -2 to shoot, and they're 10 wounds, 4 up invuln.
They're a real pain to remove. And before you can kind of just ignore them, but in this kind of build, they're doing so much work for that.
They're the only thing you can shoot at.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, with like a big L, they can hide in the L.
I know.
So you just hide them both in L's, and you stand behind them or on the top of the L.
Yeah.
And it's like you'll never shoot ever, and your indirect guns can't kill.
Would you put the turn off deep strike? Or do you
Yes, I would turn that off if it was a deep strike opponent.
Yeah, totally.
So you can see that list is non-interactive. So if it's like you're playing against the Iron Hands list that's so strong right now, if you have that L and you can get in it, they won't even be able to shoot for like 3 turns.
Yeah,
ever.
Brutal.
They won't shoot a single gun until they march around the corner, and then you just have fly. You just go to the other side and hide and play this janky hiding game.
Right.
And so you could take some of the strongest armies in the game right now, Imperial Fists, Iron Hands, etc. Even the Eldar shooting list, they will never shoot a gun once.
It's super brutal.
That's violent. And you have 6 commanders hitting with everything.
Yeah. One question for you is, before, even when you played Commander Spam, one of the difficult things was timing and playing the game fast, because it's so meticulous. Do you see that being an issue?
Yes. I'll warn you, if you're going to play this army, you will clock out.
Yeah.
And you need to play it very carefully. And Tau is always a game of like 1 false move and the whole castle crumbles.
Yeah.
You are playing on a knife's edge with this army. But if you play it right, it's non-interactive.
It's a knockout.
Yeah, it's just a knockout. Like
is.
they didn't do anything, and you did everything.
Yeah.
So that one's so let's double down on that and talk about my bonus. This is a bonus list just for fun.
Right.
This is the 8, except it's the 12 because we're taking 12 commanders. We're taking the 8 plus 2 more detachments with 2 commanders in them each.
Yeah.
And then we're throwing in a few screen units, which is 1 cold star, a unit of stealth teams. And then, of course, we're going to use all the drones, all the special drones that come from the 8, plus the Riptide that comes from the 8, throw them forward. They're going to be my screen. The Riptide's going to be on a 3-up invuln all game. And then I have 12, count them, 12 commanders, all just standing back and doing the same thing as the last list.
Right.
But kind of better. Kind of better.
I love this list idea. It's so cool.
This takes so much memorization. There's like 9 relics in this army. So it's really hard to remember how this works. It's like, does Torchstar have an ATS? And this is my Warscaper drone, which minuses your, what is it again?
Yeah.
So there's so many rules. I've never seen so many special rules. But we will play this list on the channel sometime. This won't be the one we play next week. But we're going to play this list coming up soon. And a master player could do work with this list. Could just clown on people. Like,
sure.
They're not even playing the game.
I don't think it's super easy to play, but if you do, if you play it well,
exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So
cool.
I want to reiterate just a few of these key takeaways for you. One of the clear ones, you need more CP. Take a battalion, take a brigade, take 2 battalions, whatever you got to do. You need more. It's more important. If you're going to be taking battalions, use breachers more often than not.
Yeah, they're great. They have new tools. They're flexible.
I didn't go over all the awesome stuff Kroot got here because it's great, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
So probably don't take Kroot.
No.
Riptides and commanders are still the best. They got better.
Yeah.
So you can still do that if you want. Markelites matter a whole lot less because strats get you there, and so do prototype weapons. Farsight is probably the most interesting and definitely the most varied way to play.
Yeah.
And a FAQ is definitely required for this book, so watch out for it because it might change a ton of what I've just said. Yeah. If, for instance, you can't take more than 1 prototype weapon, okay,
that's the biggest question.
That's going to impact. That's the biggest one.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So
So, Bridger, do we have any questions? I know we're running a little long.
Yeah,
but...
so we ran a bit long. We're going to open the floodgates in chat. If I don't pick a question, there's a chance that we've already answered it. It's been a long stream.
Yeah.
Also, Siegler was in the chat answering some questions earlier. But cool. We're going to open the floodgates. If anybody has questions, now's the time.
And anything we don't get to, you can also message us on Facebook and ask us.
Well, and keep in mind, as we said, next Thursday, or this coming Thursday,
right.
6 p.m. Pacific time, we are going to play a full game with these new rules. And in fact, I'm either going to play the Farsight Commander Spam list, not the 8, but the Farsight Commander Spam list, or I think we talked about playing the Riptide plus Yuvara list. Is that the one we talked about?
I think so, yeah.
So I think we might try that one. That's the most obvious default that I think people will want to go to. And it'll be easy for me to play because it's very familiar.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we might play that against like a very shooty army, and we'll see how well that works.
I'm scared because it's your old list, but better.
But better. Well, it's less drones.
That's true.
It is less drones.
That's true. We'll see.
Yeah, so we're going to see how that goes.
Okay, so how do the Tau point changes from chapter approved play into how
my
you think
recommendations?
About stuff like this?
Yeah, so the point changes weren't enough to adjust almost any of the armies I was building. But when you stack those point changes with some of these rules, particularly things like the Ghost Keel, it became a lot more interesting. The Ghost Keel was, with those point changes, almost already like worth taking, but now it kind of put him over the top quite a bit. The combination of points plus any other rules didn't really resonate with me too much. Like the crew got a little cheaper and they got a little better here, but they fundamentally don't do anything. Like they don't shoot, they don't fight, they just die.
Well, Ghost Keels came down in points, right?
That's what I'm saying. So the Ghost Keel is the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The Ghost Keel is the one that was the big winner. Almost nothing else had a confluence that I thought really mattered.
Right.
Yeah.
And even here, you kind of needed the additional stuff to make the Ghost Keel really see play.
I would say so. Yeah, he was not quite worth it.
So Magna rail rifles with their submunitions and the 1 CP strat for max shots. Is it good? 12 shots, strength 6. Is that worth it?
Sorry, the Magna rail rifles.
With the submunition. They're lower shots.
Oh, the submunition.
Which is range shots. And then you can 1 CP max the shots.
Well, situationally, right?
Absolutely. Again, this is all about the tools you have in your disposal. Let me just I'll bring that up quickly from
it's going to be what, lower strength, same rend, right?
Strength 6.
Sorry, this isn't the Magna rail rifle. This is the one that's on the high capacitive railgun. So this is 43 shots.
Right.
No. This is not good.
You lose so much.
43 strength 6 -1. Just take a Riptide. It would have been 18 strength 6 -2 damage.
Good point.
If you wanted to do the submunitions, take a Riptide.
Yeah, no.
that's my theory.
So how do you feel breachers rank amongst all troops in the game now? Like, do Tau have legitimate troops? Are we in it?
Let's not go that far.
If I didn't need troops, I still wouldn't be taking them. Like at max, I would take 1 unit of 10. But there's still a liability. The army is still about durability. They're still a wrap target. They still do things I don't like. So for me, I don't think necessarily they're as crucial to the Tau army. Right now, the only reason I'm excited about them is because they're not horrible and I need the CP. But I'd rather have more drones, man.
So we talked a little bit about a few different Farsight builds. Do you think Farsight are going to be competitively viable? Is that going to be a real thing?
Yes, they're competitively viable, and you'll see the most diversity in competitive viability from them. Like I said, there's brigades from them that have a mixture of everything. Like, oh, you want to have 1 unit of Vespid, you want to have 1 unit of this and that. Like, you can do these things and mix and match, and also you can mix seps. Like if you have the kinds of units that don't really need drone support, you could throw them into another sept and get the most out of a custom sept. So I think you'll see some mix and match also.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of questions that are like, what is the best blank or what's your favorite blank? But I think we're all just happy about the variety now, right?
That's the biggest thing.
Tau used to be a 1 build army, and now you can do so many different armies. I think we're just excited to play new stuff, right?
Farsight is definitely the thing I'm most excited about. I'm excited about having more commanders on the board. I love the way that army plays. I love that denial. You can't shoot me at all. So I know it's super frustrating, but it's like, I actually don't even need drones in that army. The drones are only there to be 2-man to hide. So I really love the new Farsight stuff, and I'm gonna keep digging in more and see what I can pull out and make work there. I'm gonna see if I can make that Remora flying thing work.
The firebombs.
And okay, hold on. Give me a second on that for a second. They can hold 2 seeker missiles each.
Okay.
They fly up within range. Now they're within 6, so they count as having 1 more marker light. So I can just put 1 marker light in a few places, and now I have 2 marker lights.
So gross.
They're auto re-rolling their 1s basically, and then they re-roll their 1s to wound. And then they get to dump mortal wounds on everybody. And then they die and I don't care because they dumped their whole payload. Dude, this isn't crazy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be painting up some red remorse here. Yeah, it's just crazy like a fox though.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm just excited to see all these different types of units. I want to see broadsides again. The Yavar is one of my favorite models of all time, and I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thanks, Mason, for the $10.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, glad you're liking it.
He asks, do we think we're going to stop seeing marker lights now that you have all these strats to kind of replace them? You can sort of substitute your marker lights for CP.
You'll see less. I don't think you want to. You don't want to burn all your CP on that if you can. So for me, I'll still keep putting a few marker drones. I probably won't invest as much in the characters because they're pretty pricey and they're liabilities in other ways. But I'll still be taking marker drones in my bigger marker squads, or my bigger drone squads.
One of the big things, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like things like marker light uplink require you actually to be placing a marker light from like a shot in order to generate those extra D3, right?
Yeah.
The one that says you count as having one is not the same as triggering that ability.
And the truth is, if you want 5 from anything other than your crisis unit, like if you want Riptides to benefit from 5 marker lights,
absolutely,
you still need to get them the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. You still need to get like
most of them.
You need to get like 3. Yeah.
You need to get 3 or 4.
That threshold between 4 and 5 was so crucial, and now that doesn't matter as much. So that's the nice part. But you still need them.
Yes.
So we talked a little bit about this before the stream. Do you want to briefly go over the seismic fibrillator?
Yeah. So yeah, we saw a bit of this. We saw a little bit of this from Goonhammer or something like that. Here, we'll bring it up on screen if you want.
Yeah, let's take a look.
So this is a relic specific to Farside Enclaves. It's the seismic fibrillator node, and once per before I read this very confusing sentence, this is not a good relic. Because it relies on your opponent deliberately trying to lose the game. Yeah. Okay? If your opponent does not choose to lose the game deliberately, this does actual nothing. But okay, let's pretend that they do. So you pick a unit, you've got a model with this relic. You choose your opponent's turn to activate it. So let's say, I know you're going to try to charge me this turn with everything because you're crazy. And I say, everyone within 6 inches, every time they finish a move, on a roll of 1, that model unit takes a mortal wound. Okay, so it's already a 1 in 6 chance every time I roll, pretty low. The reason this gets interesting is every single time they move. So when they move in range, then when they charge, then when they pile in, then when they consolidate. These are all different moves. Now, you could choose not to pile in and consolidate. Those are choices. You can choose to charge from outside of 6.
Right.
So you could still do all the charge and fight you want and still only have moved once, which is a very low chance of doing anything.
Even if you move all 4 times, the odds are that's not even going to do a single mortal wound.
Yeah, you would have to get exceptionally lucky. And the idea that you're going to take this and then be in position, 6 inches is low range. Do you have the character at the front that it's being charged? No. This isn't good. It doesn't make sense.
It's so bad.
It doesn't work for me. Sorry.
With all these juicy prototypes that replace your relics, will you still take the neurochip?
Yeah, you will. You will still take the neurochip. Sometimes, if you need all 3 prototype systems, which I don't think you do most of the time, maybe not, but I think a lot of times you'll see 2 prototype systems and the neurochip.
I agree.
Yeah, the neurochip's still great. I get a lot of CP back, and if you're taking battalions, you're spending more 1 CP strats. The likelihood of you getting those CP back is better than ever, and that free reroll has been crucial for me. If I put it on a cold star and he just misses and he needs to get that hit back, or he needs to get the damage roll up.
Right.
It's been game winning for me.
All right. I think we can wrap it up there.
Okay, great. Well, sorry if we didn't cover your question. Again, if we didn't, come ask it again this coming Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, when we play the new Tau against the Orcs. It's going to be amazing. And then in the weeks that follow, we're going to be playing with the new guard rules.
That's right.
And the new Gene Steer cults. And if you really like the way we did this, let us know. And we'd be happy to do it again with the other factions in this book. And then, of course, with future factions in the books that are coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know what you guys think.
Thanks again. Thanks for coming to check out this new format. We're really glad that you came, and we hope that you liked it. And we look forward to doing more in the future. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. See you guys.
Take it easy.